With everything on lockdown, why is a routine important? Well, regardless of whether you're on lockdown or not, a routine is imperative for both parent and child to ensure that everyone knows what is expected of them and when things are happening. So in this video, we're going to look at the importance of routine, how to construct a routine in which your child is confident and will contribute to and will commit to. So first of all, what does routine actually mean? Well, the etymology of this word comes from the French route in the 1670s, and it means the beaten path, to go down the same path. And then it is changed in the English language, and this is when we get the formulation of routine. And it just means a repetition of a set behavior. So a routine is vital for your children because it actually gives them a sense of stability. When things are, in fluctuation or changing, if they have something that is set in stone, it can give them a good grounding. And actually, what you will see is that they start to develop greater independence. And this is because they become confident in themselves and they know clearly what is expected of them. So, for example, if you have a set time in which they have to go and brush their teeth. Now, at first, you may have to greatly help them. You have to get the toothbrush, you have to squirt the pea-sized amount, and you might actually have to physically help them to clean their teeth. Now, as time goes on, as you are consistent with the time in which they do it, with all of the different steps involved, they will start to do it themselves and they will start to feel proud when they can do it. So you're allowing them to take greater control. Now, in terms of studying, how often do you find that your child is resistant to sitting down routinely and studying when you have set them certain tasks? And it might leave you puzzled because you know for a fact at school they're there for at least 6 hours and that they have at least 4 to 6 classes of maybe maths, English, geography, history. And so you think, well, why can't you sit there and just read for 30 minutes? Quite often, children will complain that it's not fair, that they don't have much free time. So how can you empower them and help them to become committed to a set routine, especially as you may be working from home and you want to encourage your child to also continue their studies at home? Well, the first thing you can do is actually sit down with your child and create a routine and allow them to have input. By getting them to contribute to the schedule, they will actually see how much time they have to themselves. They will also feel like they have some say, some input. And when children are developing, they're developing their sense of self, their autonomy. And so it's really important for them to feel that they have a voice. And it will also allow you to see, actually, are you overscheduling them? Are you not giving them enough time to, have some downtime? Are you not giving them enough time to pursue things that are important to them? Equally, you can see if you're not having enough structure for them. Is there too much free time? Is there too much time in which the child is left floundering and not knowing what to do? Also, with a routine, it actually helps to create a community within your family. If you have a set time in which you regularly sit down together to have meals, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what you're actually creating there is a sense of belonging. Your child will pick up that family time is important and it actually creates greater connection. It allows you then to have these touch points throughout the day and the child can look forward to them. If you have a child who is particularly anxious, then having a routine can help them to feel calmer. You could actually also set time aside, which I know seems counterintuitive, to worry. So, for example, if you have a child that is constantly panicked and worried, if you say, well, actually, these are the times when you're going to be doing math, English, drawing, when you can watch TV or play on your iPad or whatever, and this time here is when you can literally vent all of your concerns, all your worries and concerns, then they know that they have that fixed time to have that outlet. And then what you'll find is that actually the anxiety will be reduced because they know, okay, I have that time when I'm permitted to do so. I know that I don't have to worry, that I have to keep my worries to myself. So a routine is really important because it allows both parent and child to know what's expected of them. And if your child deviates from their routine, their schedule, then you can remind them that they actually helped to put it together. And it's important that you're really patient, especially if you haven't set this up before, that it's going to take time and you have to be consistent. If you're consistent with it, then your child will follow that rhythm. But you have to be really patient as well to allow this change to come into being. But equally, what you can do is you can allow your child to exercise choice, which is really powerful. Think about it as an adult. Do you like it when you feel that your freedoms are infringed upon? Well, no one does, nor does a child. So if they start to deviate from their routine, for example, they don't do all the reading that you had set them to do, perhaps you have to look at maybe you were being overly ambitious with that. Or if you think, actually, no, that task was reasonable and they could definitely have done it, then you can ask a child, okay, you haven't completed this task then. How are you going to, make that up? And if you're putting it in a positive way, in a place of choice, without making your child wrong or feel ashamed, then they will take ownership of that. And what you'll see is they'll say, well, actually, I can, do this later on at this time. And so then they start to be able to practice those skills of, okay, I've not met that deadline. I'm going to do it at this other time. And so then they start to get a greater sense of accountability and responsibility without, any heavy burdens or anything, without having to go into arguing. And equally, there has to be some, consequence. As an adult, we have to face consequences. And it's important that children recognize consequences, but again, not a place of making wrong or judgment. So, for example, if they don't do all of the tasks that they had agreed upon, they helped to create, then the free time, the privileges can't come into fruition because they haven't completed all those tasks. And again, it's not as a weapon, as a means to control or manipulate. Children will know that immediately and it will actually create more tension. But you can use it as a way of saying, okay, well, actually, how can you have that free time when you haven't, done this? What can you do then to allow yourself to have that free time, which I want you to have, and to still get these tasks done, which are really important? So when setting up a routine as well, it's important to explain to your child why each thing is important. So why is it that reading is important? How is that going to, help them? And put it to their age appropriate level. So for example, if your child is really little and young, then actually they don't care about GCSEs, A levels, or university. It's not even in their world. But if they learn to do it, then they will be able to, articulate themselves clearly. What's important to a child when they're that young? Well, perhaps it's just that if they do that, they will feel really proud. Give them lots of praise. That's really important for young children. And then what that helps them to instill in them is that completing these tasks feels good because of that task being completed, not because of any other reward. Equally, if they're a little bit older, then actually, if you do really, really well in this task, then it means that you get to go on to the next module, the next level. It means that's easier for you next academic year. If they are later on in their teenage years, then again, doing this is really important because it means that you get a better grade that can help you to get a better job, or, it gives you more options, more freedom. And so by putting it into that context, it doesn't put pressure, but it helps the child to see why that is important and what your expectation is of them. And they're very clear then, and so can take steps to fulfill those. And it's equally important when setting out a routine that you don't just bombard them with everything, but you break it down and you prime them. So when you want them to move from, say, reading to, say, science, that you remind them 10 minutes, and then you have to go on that, 5 minutes, and then you're going to go to that 1 minute, and then you're going to go on to that. And that way then they're set up, they know, okay, this change is going to occur. And you'll see that the resistance minimizes. So routine is really important because it allows a parent and child to know where they're at. And what you'll find is if you implement it and are consistent, that the child will pick you up when you're not fulfilling the schedule. So for example, if you set some time in the evening to play a game or to read a story, and then for whatever reason you don't do that, you can bet that your child will be able to be saying, hang on a minute, you're not fulfilling your word. So it helps you then to think about what's important to you, what values do you want to hold on to, and then it helps you to manage your time as well. So routines are imperative for both parent and child in establishing a workable routine, a day-to-day set of activities. And it also, if you allow your child to be involved in that, it's a great bonding experience, and it empowers them and sets them up for developing skills, to developing greater autonomy and greater independence. And there's a great resource at the bottom of this video outlining examples of schedules. And again, this is just a guideline to help, and also all the information that's been covered in the video as well. So as a recap to help you to set a schedule that isn't too much and isn't too little, so that it's manageable for both you and your children.